Hello, today I wanted to talk to you about insulin resistance. So it's quite a sciencey term, and I just wanted to break it down so you might be able to understand it a bit easier. So if you could imagine a pond of water or a fish bowl full of water, and the container is full to the brim. It's really, really full to the brim, and the plug at the bottom is stuck shut, can't be opened. And you try and add more water into that container and it spills out. That's what represents to me insulin resistance. So the cell is so full of sugar, or in this case, the water, it can't take any more on. So the sugar spills out and it causes havoc in your body, and it ends up being stored as fat. So you can see why eating high amounts of sugar, then your body has to process this, and it causes stress within your body. If there's too much sugar in your body, it will have to find somewhere else to store it, and then inevitably it gets stored as fat. So your liver has to digest it. Your liver has to cope with this overburden, and primarily your liver will become fatty, and that's where the whole problem begins. So fat isn't what makes us fat. Indeed, it's sugar that makes us fat. We have to try and rethink that in our minds. Excess sugar in your blood or glucose in your blood will turn to fat. Remember what sugar is. So there's some common names from sugar that I just wanted to read out to you that you'll see in everyday products in the supermarkets. You might indeed use them at home as well, just so that you're aware of what you're putting in your food. So the most common forms are agave nectar, which we know is in a lot of raw baked food that you think is healthy, but they actually aren't. Molasses, brown sugar is used in cooking, cane sugar, caramel, corn syrup, confectioner's sugar, carb syrup, caster sugar, date sugar, coconut sugar, demerara sugar, dextrose, fructose is what we find in fruit, fruit juice, fruit concentrate, galactose, golden, what have we got? Glucose, golden sugar, golden syrup, which everyone used to put on their toast back in the day, grape sugar, high fructose corn syrup, which is found in a lot of sauces and baked products. Honey is a topic that needs to be investigated further, because I love bees. They do a great job, and I don't want to diss on sugar, on honey. But if you have a problem in your body, then honey is not your friend. It's not your friend at all. And if you think about it, back in the day, the hunter-gatherers would find a hive once a year and allow themselves to indulge in that sugar, and then that was it. But we have honey everywhere, so it doesn't matter what form of sugar, of honey it is, if it's your friend's organic beehive that they've got in their back lawn, if it's some speciality honey, they still have that sugar content in them, and you just need to be aware of where you're putting it in your food, because it's not something we should have all the time. Give your liver a break from that. So let's move on. Icing sugar, lactose, maltodextrin, malt syrup, muscovado sugar, raw sugar, rice syrup, all of these are sugar. So how do we know how much sugar we're eating, and how do we know how much insulin resistance we might be creating in our bodies? So if we consider, the literature says that around 6 teaspoons of sugar is more than adequate. It's more than adequate. Then let's look at how much sugar there is in everyday food that we might choose to eat. So a piece of bread has about 4 teaspoons of sugar. A bowl of pasta has 6.5. Sweet corn, which we all think is great, has 4 teaspoons of sugar. White potato has 9 teaspoons of sugar. Fruit juice, let's say an apple has, so this is just fruit, sorry, not fruit juice, has around 2.3 teaspoons of sugar, where a banana has nearly 6. Depending on the size of the fruit is depending on how much sugar it has and how much ripeness. If the banana is super ripe, it will be a higher sugar content. Basmati rice that we eat with all our takeaway curries and Chinese food has in 150-gram serve, which is around half a cup. Who only has half a cup when you're eating a takeaway? 10 teaspoons of sugar. So they're just really highly processed foods. Well, the white potato isn't processed, but everything else in there is processed, and it drives your sugar content up in your body. They're normal foods that we eat mostly every day. And if we look at this tally, we can see how quickly and how easy it is to go over that 6 teaspoons of sugar at any time. We don't use the sugar as quickly as we consume it. We really do have the capacity to have sugar readily at our fingertips. If you look at flavored yogurt, it will have high sugar content and low fat, because they know if it's low fat and they take the sugar out, it's going to taste pretty bad. So they put sugar in it to make it taste better. In actual fact, it's not better for you. So what is insulin's role here? Why is the term insulin resistant even a thing? Why do we have to worry about it? It does many things to our body, lots of good things. Insulin is a growth hormone. So in pregnancy and when you're growing as a child, you need insulin to keep you growing at the usual rate. But its other job in this instance is that it knocks on the door of the cell and it goes, hello, here's a bundle of glucose for you. And the cell goes, sorry, I'm not up to that today. I can't take it on. I've got too much. I've got things happening here. It's a bit like when you've got basketfuls of ironing and someone gives you another basketful of ironing and you say, no, I'm not doing that. I've got too many here. So then the excess sugar spills out into your body and it causes all sorts of problems, but it also gets stored as fat, which I mentioned earlier on today. As I said, it's recommended we eat 6 teaspoons of sugar at any time to keep us functioning, but this doesn't need to come from food. Your body's very clever at making its own glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. And I'll talk about that a bit later on, because that's a huge topic in itself. It's huge, 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 huge. There's all the different processes in your body. If you think back to the Krebs cycle, you might have learned of that at school. It's all about gluconeogenesis and all those terms that I'll talk about in another video. So you might ask, doesn't our brain use glucose? Don't we need to keep sugar in there to keep functioning? In the literature, we now understand that our brain actually prefers ketones. It's another source of fuel that you can access in your body, and we'll talk about that another time. The brain is a very hungry organ. It's metabolically active. It needs lots of nutrients to keep it functioning. It's also 80% fat. Did you know that your brain is a fatty organ? It requires all this energy, and if we're consuming high carbohydrate food, then the brain will naturally use it as a food source because it's there and it's available. The problem comes years later when your brain becomes insulin resistant, just like that cell trying to take in more water. Your brain can become insulin resistant as well. And the problem with this is this process of insulin resistance throughout your whole body starts about 10 years before it becomes apparent and becomes a problem that you need to deal with. So we have to be careful about how much sugar we're putting in our body, because we may well be swimming in a sea of glucose through our organs, but the body can't access it. And it's vitally important for your brain that it can access a fuel source of some type, because otherwise it's literally starving to death, and it causes all problems with Alzheimer's, all sorts of brain issues when your brain can't access food. So ketones are an ideal source of fuel for the brain. Our muscles are clever. They don't need to take on insulin to draw up insulin. They're so clever, they can take glucose straight from the bloodstream. Movement, or indeed contraction of our muscles, allows our body to remove glucose from the blood. And that's what we need to try and be doing all the time, is keeping that blood sugar level constant at a level, not spiking up and down. Ketones are a valuable source of fuel for the body. They've long been thought of as metabolic garbage. That's what my friend Dr. Ben Bickman mentions in his book. But the literature is changing. Ketones are now regarded as a highly useful fuel for the body, not only for their beneficial signaling effects on the body, but ketones are a source of energy that our cells use. They can't become ketone resistant. And by their very presence in our blood, in our body, the ketones drive the manufacture of extra mitochondria. And you know, mitochondria are the powerhouse of our whole body. That's the reason we're here. They do all the work. They give us all the energy that we need to keep powering on through the day. And mitochondria are probably my favorite part of the cells. They're just so clever at everything that they do, and I will talk about them in another video as well. So let's recap. Insulin is a state of hyperinsulinemia, which means high blood sugar levels in your blood, in your body. We have far too much sugar in our bloodstream. We have far too much sugar available to us at a constant stream throughout the day. So it's referred to as hyperinsulinemia. And these levels of high sugar in your blood will eventually lead to metabolic syndrome, or I'm going to call it an unwell state in your body, causing issues like blood pressure, skin tags, if you have skin tags, if you have a browning of the skin between your, around the base of your neck, under your arms, in your groin, if you have high triglyceride levels, so if you've had your lipid levels tested and you have high triglycerides, it can be a signal that insulin resistance is not far or has already occurred in your body. Central adiposity, so that's fat around your middle, that's sometimes referred to as a muffin top, but we can grab that extra fat that's around our body. Love handles, those things on your hips you can get that you can grab. Beer bellies on men, that big beer belly is not natural, that shouldn't be there. It's a sign of insulin resistance in your body, and you need to deal with it because it's causing more problems and will or can lead maybe already to type 2 diabetes, but definitely you're on the path to metabolic illness with Alzheimer's disease and other brain-related disorders. So do yourself a favor, watch how much sugar you are consuming in the forms of all that I've spoken about, because everything that you eat with sugar in it will revert to fat in your body unless you are running marathons and marathons and marathons for months. Dr. Jason Fung talks about people having a fridge on their body that they need to access before they will become metabolically well. So we have to get rid of that extra burden. I think a bigger body has become accepted in society now because we see it everywhere. When I was a young girl at school, there was one big person in the class. Now there's one skinny person and everybody else is big. So we have to keep our body healthy and well and at its lowest weight that we can to be metabolically well. So we're to stay away from, if you have a sugar problem, all the root vegetables, pasta, bread, rice, wheat, noodles, and all of those things that are highly addictive. They're so highly addictive and cause our bodies to be metabolically unwell and stress in our bodies. They're things that we recognize as not real food. So when you go to the supermarket, if that's where you do your shopping, stay away from the center aisles, just move to the outside. Prioritize protein on your plate and do yourself a favor and research where is sugar sneaking in to your diet, because it will be. It's there for everyone. So till next time, hope you enjoyed this video and send me some messages if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks.